Hey everybody, this is Robert Mathis from The Quest for Groove, and in this video we're gonna make a little song using only this as a controller. This is the Sensel Morph, a nifty little device with swappable overlays, like for example this drum overlay that we're going to be using later, as well as MIDI polyphonic expression MPE, which is going to come in handy because besides the drums that I'm going to be playing, the only other instruments that we're going to use are brass instruments. So I'm talking tuba, I'm talking trombone, French horn, trumpet. And up until recently, I never dared to use any digital brass instruments in my productions because I always felt like they sound a bit plasticky, a bit fake, not like a lot of fun. But I believe that those times might be finally behind us and we can actually create something that sounds musical and sounds fun. So let's get going and see what we come up with. The Quest for Groove. So the horns that we're going to be using are brand new. They're from this company called Audio Modeling SWAM, SWAM instruments. And the interesting thing about these horns is that they're not sampled actually. There's no real horns sampled at all. They're actually synthesizers that mimic the behavior of a brass instrument. And with an MPE controller like the Sensel Morph, MIDI polyphonic expression, you can control these instruments or these synths to a very, very extreme degree, right? By wobbling your finger, by moving it upward or downward, sliding it. Let me just show you what I mean. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about the most fun brass section in the world, in my opinion, are these guys, right? A little band roaming the streets of New Orleans, improvising, having fun, making music, and that's the type of song that I want to make. So let's get started. The best way to get started is probably with the bass, which is a tuba in this case. Let's see what that sounds like. The bass or the tuba already decided for us what the chords are going to be, more or less, but we want to emphasize that harmony a little bit more by bringing in one horn to the left, one horn to the right, and then together they'll fill in the necessary chord notes for us. Something that I really like about this way of arranging is that every voice or every horn has its own story to tell. There's a lot of horizontal movement, as they say. So instead of stacking harmonies on top of each other, you're basically creating three different melodies in this case, and those melodies complement one another, but you could also just take them separately and hum them as a melody of their own. And that creates a little bit of a chaotic, but at the same time very human, very playful sort of thing that I really like. And it's very inherent to that New Orleans style, or at least what I imagine the New Orleans style to be. Let's add a simple swinged hi-hat, and for that we have to switch to the drum overlay, as well as a happy, a playful lead trumpet. Let's move on to the next section. This A section is done. It's time for a B section. Let's change up the harmonies. Let's change up the energy of the song. And the best way to get started is by just playing a new bass part together with a new melody. Let's listen to what those sound like. And now we're going to use the same trick that we did earlier. We're going to put one horn to the left, one horn to the right, and we're going to fill in those harmonies with some extra juicy harmony notes. And then again, we used a lot of polyphony, right? Every instrument has its own little melody. But something that's still missing right now is a more energetic drum part, right? We cannot get away with just playing that one hi-hat. We need more energy. So we're going to swap overlays again, and I'm going to play a more exciting drum part to go along with all of this. Now, before we move on to the final section of the song and the full playthrough, a quick note about using the Sensel Morph as a controller for finger drumming specifically, either with the drum overlay or the music production overlay that I actually didn't have to use in this video. If you want to play drums Quest for Groove style, the way I play it, I would not recommend this controller specifically for that purpose. It has a lot of similarities with the Roly Blocks and my instrument for that matter, both controllers that I love for what they do, but for drumming, these types of controllers don't seem to like it if you hit a lot of pads at the same time with the same hand. So if you do something like this a lot, 2 pads at the same time with the same hand, the velocity is not sensed accurately. And I noticed that these types of controllers who don't have separate pad sensors, but just one big sensor sheet, seem to all suffer from that same quirk. So yeah, great controller to use for a lot of things, but your main controller for Quest for Groove style finger drumming, I would not recommend it. Okay, moving on to the final section of the song. Or you know what? We're just going to do a full playthrough from the beginning. So intro, A section, B section, and after that, we're going to go back into a more mellow thing and fade out. And in that last ending, I'm going to use a lot of call and response between the trumpets. So one trumpet plays something, then the trombone reacts to it, and we're going to have a little party. And we're going to use that little fade out trick where the more fun it gets, the bigger the party is becoming, the more we fade out, leaving the listener wanting more, right? That's, in my opinion, always the trick of a fade out. All right, with that said, let's take it from the top. Enjoy.